It's Wednesday the 6th of January 2016. I'm Nita Newman and I'm interviewing Nanette Headley about her personal experience of working at Chance Brothers in Smethwick from 1959 to 1967. Hello Nanette, how are you? Right, one of the first questions I always start with is, where are you from, Nanette?
From a place called Langley Green in Oldbury. That's where I grew up, which is not far from the main Birmingham to Wolverhampton Road. And the well-known pub that was on the main road was the Hen and Chickens. And that was where I used to go for dances and that. And also I caught the bus to work opposite the Hen and Chickens.
So in terms of work, this is leading me on to the next question. What's the story behind you working at Chance Brothers?
My father died at the age of 38 in 1949, and Chance Brothers said that when myself, my sister and brother became of age to work, that there would be a job there at Chance Brothers for all three of us. I went into the typing pool, as did my sister when she left school, and my brother went into the carpenters.
And round about what date was that when you started work?
I started work in August 1959, and I worked there until 1967, again the end of July, leaving to start my family.
So what was it like in the typing pool? Can you describe what that was like?
Busy. It was a friendly atmosphere. We all got on well together. The desks were typically one behind the other in, I think it was 3 rows, with a desk at the front for the supervisor. We typed orders, quotations, all the things to do with the glass company, and on occasion I relieved on the switchboard, which needed a knowledge of the extensions for each of the people. And again, it was another close unit that you were friendly with everybody that was there. It was a nice atmosphere to work at Chance Brothers. You felt valued as an employee, and they looked after you as well. That evidence was in the fact that they'd given my sister, myself and my brother a job when we became of age, after my father died.
So in terms of looking after you, how did they train you?
I went to college, Oldbury Tech it was at the time, which was on the Birmingham New Road, and there I learnt shorthand and typing, and I did that in the evenings, and I did that for a year. I never used my full shorthand. Eventually I worked for the Chance Fiesta Glass, and I used to do his letters, and I did a shortened longhand with a little bit of shorthand here and there, and I got by. I managed to do the letters. Not very often did I get it wrong, I'm glad to say. It was interesting working for Fiesta Glass, because you were around when the new designs came out, and I remember an enemy was the first one that came out when I was there, that was new to me, and felt very proud when I was asked my opinion of what I thought of it. And it was a bit strange compared to the previous patterns because it was coloured. The other patterns had been white on clear glass and yellow on clear glass, as in Hellenic. The white was swirl and calypso. Those I can remember. And of course there was the advertising ashtrays. Those were another production that were produced for various companies. One of the trays that was produced was for West Bromwich Albion football team quite a few years ago.
So what kind of equipment did you use when you were at Chance Brothers?
A manual typewriter that took a lot of energy to press the keys. And it very aggravatingly, if you went too fast, you'd get more than one key coming up together and they'd lock. Then you'd got to stop what you were doing and undo them to start again. And you had to change the ribbons because the ribbons ran out of ink after so many uses. And I later went on to work on the telex. I enjoyed that because it was marvellous to sit at that keyboard and think that you could send messages to another part of the world. And I was responsible for meeting up with the representatives of Western Union and other companies in connection with telegrams. One of the places that I sent messages to was Africa, and there they had runners that delivered the message to the people that it was sent to, which was fascinating.
So in terms of other machines, you had a copier machine, like we would at any company nowadays. We have copier machines and we have calculators.
The Gestetner machine, that you had a certain type of sheet that you typed the article onto, that required many copies, because there was only so many copies you could do with paper and carbon, and if it was more than the amount that you could get into the typewriter to type up, because as the copies increased, the back one became quite faint. The Gestetner paper was rather messy because there was like a purple ink to it when you were running the copies off on the Gestetner machine, and more often than not you ended up looking purple by the time you'd finished doing the copies. But as long as the paperwork was nice and spruce, then it was okay. You just needed to give a good wash of your hands afterwards. And the other things I did use was the tape machine, that you cut the messages into the tape, and it came through as a form of holes, and different positions of the holes meant different letters, and you used that because that could go through far quicker then anyone could type the messages up. And if you'd got a lot of messages to send to a place, then you used that to send it. Or if they were large messages, of course, too.
So the early calculators that they used, could you tell us about those?
Comptometer machines. That office was in the next office to the typing pool, and they had again the desks in rows, one behind the other, and they all had the comptometer machines on, and these were the early calculating machines. And it was another thing that was similar to typing, because you eventually learnt the position of the figures on the keyboard, and you could type pretty quickly using the keys, the same as you could on a typewriter. If you touch typed, you could get speed up.
Did you ever use one?
No, I never used a comptometer machine. It was enough to use the typewriter and the telex.
Was it noisy in both machines? Because in both areas you'd have the typing pool, which I imagine would have been quite noisy. But were they, in comparison, were they actually quite noisy?
It was noisy because you'd got the clack, clack, clack of the keys hitting the ribbon and the paper, and at times there'd be breaks when people would be sorting work out rather than typing it. But most of the time there was always somebody typing something.
Did it give you a bit of a headache towards the end of the day?
I can't say that I recall having headaches. But there again, I was a teenager then, and everything was taken as it came. You just got on with it.
So all the departments, so was there any other departments that you used to visit as part of your job at Chance's?
Export, that was downstairs. On occasion I'd need to go down there because of typing the messages on the telex, because I typed the messages for all departments. I had a friend that worked for, I cannot remember which one it was now, but her name was, and I can't remember her Christian name, but we were quite friends for quite some years, even after I left Chance Brothers, but eventually I lost touch.
So did you make lots of friends at Chance's?
Oh, and I also had another friend that worked for Mr. as his secretary. June, I was friends with for quite some years. Didn't lose contact with her until after my twins were born, which were in 1972. And it was after then that I lost contact with her.
So, in terms of the social side of Chance Brothers, how did they?
They had the recreation club.
Yeah.
They had all sorts of things going on there. They'd have dances at special times. They had the Chance Glass Queen competition, and I think one of the ladies that won as Chance Glass Queen was a lady named, a young lady called, and I think that was the time that I entered the Chance Glass Queen too. I was pleased that she'd won. Thinking of the typing department, that oversaw the office after the original supervisor left. She used to make us look at her with awe, because she only ever used her 2 index fingers to type, and boy could she type fast.
So at Chance's they provided facilities for people to socialise. In terms of the facilities on the ground, in terms of for the workers and for the work to be done itself, they had quite a lot of different departments. Could you tell me about those?
Yes, Chance Brothers was like a little village in itself, and it had all the departments it needed to run the company. There were sign writers to put the signs on the side of the company vehicles, because they had their own company vehicles, lorries to deliver the products. There was a carpenter's department that looked after the bodies of the company vehicles. There was a garage that maintained the vehicles. They had bricklayers to sort out the furnaces. There was a canteen for you to go and have something to eat. And one of the meals I used to enjoy was lamb stew, Irish lamb stew. I used to look forward to when they had that on the menu, and I used to make sure that I went. There was also a few houses that were actually on the site of Chance Brothers, and some of the workers lived in those. I cannot remember how many there were now, but they were situated by the main entrance, which went onto the buildings where the personnel were and the canteen.
So did you have some healthcare facilities there?
Yes, we did, but I cannot remember very much about it. There was a nurse you could go to, I believe, but in those days of being a youngster, I didn't see much of that side of things, because I was pretty healthy then.
So, in terms of your contribution to Chance's, what do you feel that was your most proud moment? What could you say that to take away with you and say what you did at Chance, what you were most proud of?
I think there were 2 things. Being involved with the Fiesta glass and the telex. Because in those days it was amazing that you could sit at a keyboard and be typing a message that end up thousands of miles away in another country. And through working on the telex, I made friends with who lived in St Helens, and I think she worked for Pilkingtons, and through my friendship with her, I managed to visit St Helens and so a bit further in England. Before then I hadn't travelled very much other than around the area I lived.
So you think Chance has opened your horizons?
Oh, definitely. It did open my horizons, and it gave me the interest in the rest of the world. I had a curiosity, and if something interested me, I wanted to find out about it. If places interested me, I wanted to visit them and see about them. And one thing I did was I appeared in, I think it was the Valentine teenage magazine when I was at Chance's, not through Chance Brothers, but through my own writing to them. And I was invited down to be photographed wearing some clothes from Robinsons of the Strand or something like that. And then afterwards I was invited for tea at the Ritz. And again, that was through Chance Brothers opening out and giving me confidence to do it, because I went to London on my own on the train, found my way to where I'd got to get to, and returned home and was proud as punch when I saw the pictures in the paper.
So it sounds like it opened a whole new world for you.
Yes, it did.
Well, thank you very much for the interview. You've given me a wonderful insight into what I would call the Chance family. Thank you.